Hello everyone, welcome back to the brand new season of Radical Racing Challenge. I bet you all missed this. I'm your host, Aaron Smith, and joining me in the production booth is Samuli Kumo. I believe it's just me for today, and I'm sure everyone has very much missed this series, as last time out at Nürburgring to end off the season, we had a fantastic race, and we've only got 30 seconds to go so far. On pole, it's Baba with Larson in second alongside Martinson in third and Blanco in fourth. Those are your top four for now. The rest of the grid, we shall find out soon enough. We've got only 15 seconds until the lights go green and we get this new season underway. And it's going to be hopefully just as good as the season as we had last. And the lights are coming on now. As everyone waits patiently for them to go out, Baba gets off the line, and it's a decent start for our pole sitter. He's shot off the line, but Blanco proving again that he is one of the kings of the starts in these cars as they head now down into turn one. Look at that lunge from Mattison jumping into second place. Blanco 3 wide as they're into turn one. Everyone getting through cleanly so far. Not many incidents going on, and there's Blanco trying to have a look on the inside, a little bit of contact, fighting for 5th place, but he just manages to avoid a big incident. But so far everyone getting off the line fairly decently. Baba still leading. He absolutely shot off at the start, and everyone now coming through the end of the first sector, coming through the second. This part is very difficult to follow. Another car where everyone's seeming to get through nice and clean so far as we come now down into the corkscrew. Everyone, oh, there's an incident behind, and I believe that's Satterhaug down into 11th place, and I think he completely missed his braking point going into the corkscrew, but somehow managed to avoid contact with any other drivers. And is very, very lucky to get away with that, as if you miss your braking point at the corkscrew, it can end very badly. But let's go back to the battle for 4th place. Sorensen and Blanco battling side by side down the main straight. Blanco a little bit later on the brakes. He's going to try and go around the outside, but doesn't quite have the grip out there to make the move. Just has to tuck in behind. And Sorensen at the back of this Norwegian, packed all the way from 2nd to 4th, looking very, very sexy indeed. But Blanco struggling a little bit on these opening laps. He got off the line well, but into turn one just really struggled. And now he's coming under pressure from Woodward behind. And Woodward having a fairly decent start as well. Although he did slip back. Yeah, he did slip back, and that's a mistake from Sorensen. Got very wide, and is going to allow Blanco to get back into his slipstream as they come now down through the corkscrew once again. You can see the gravel marks from last lap where Satterhaug made that mistake. And I think Stenward Yates has made another mistake. Was out of the corkscrew again. Another mistake into the corkscrew. These guys really struggling through there and proving to be, so far anyway, a very difficult corner for these Radical SR10s, as the brakes in this car is of course one of its weakest points. Very, very sensitive, and one of the more sensitive cars on all of iRacing, and if you mess it up you're going to end up in a wall, or possibly even worse outside of the track. But going back to this battle, going back to this battle for 4th place, Sorensen, you can tell he's pushing so hard, and Blanco putting on a good amount of pressure, but so far not quite enough. But I do believe that Blanco will be able to make his way past at some point. We've only got 17 laps in this race. It's a fairly short race, short lap around here, and only 17 laps. We should be done within the next half an hour or so. But this race is going to spice up, I can tell you for certain. It's Laguna Seca. When does it ever not provide a fantastic race? If you've ever watched IndyCar, you already know what I'm on about. But Blanco just keeping behind Sorensen for now. I think this is the closest battle we have on track at the moment. There's another battle going on for 10th place. It's between Ward and Satterhaug, and Ward has gone a little bit wide, and he's gonna feel under pressure from Satterhaug now as they pull alongside. And Satterhaug is already going to have the move done before we even reach turn 1. But Ward is going to try and fight back. Gets a little bit deeper on the brakes. But once again, like we found out with Blanco, the outside line just doesn't really work in these cars. As you just don't really have any grip out there. And the inside line is definitely the way to go if you're trying to overtake or defend. But yeah, so far as we're going to switch back now to the battle for 4th place, as I think Blanco, he just, over the past lap or two, he's just started to fall back a tiny bit. And Sorensen has looked a little bit more composed than he did, although saying that, he did make a little bit of a lock-up into the corkscrew. But yeah, Sorensen has started to pick up the pace and is now pulling away from Blanco a little bit. And yeah, the field already starting to spread out. The closest battle we have now is for 10th place between Ward and Lindquist. They're only separated by about 4/10. And yeah, it is really difficult to follow on a track like this in these cars. Not so much the dirty air, just the nature of the track. And again, Ward making a very similar mistake than he did last lap, and is going to be under pressure now from Lindquist as we head down into turn 1. And he's going to follow my advice of staying on that inside line, but Lindquist is going to try for the switchback, but just can't find any gap to squeeze himself into. Yeah, that round, going around turn 2, there's not really a switchback move really on, unless the person in front of you goes very, very wide. And I think Lindquist learnt that and just had to back out of it slightly. And is going to surely try and make his way past Ward, as Ward so far is making very, very similar mistakes. And that's Blanco off. Blanco is off and into the gravel, trying to catch up to Sorensen. He's made a mistake and has slipped down to 7th place. And I believe he's only lost 2 positions, which shouldn't affect him too much. But that was a crucial mistake. He probably just carried a tiny bit more speed than he should have going into that corner before the corkscrew, and yeah, just went way too wide and paid the price. But he's going to have to now make his way past, I believe that's Brown in front of him. And yeah, Blanco slipping down to 7th. Not the start to the season that he would have wanted after really having a great end to last season. He's going to want to bounce back in the later stages of this race. We're on lap 6 now. Not quite halfway through the race yet. Got a few more laps to go until that happens. But so far, Baba in the lead, looking very, very strong. And yeah, he's looked sort of in a class of his own at the moment. Again, we are only on lap 6, so we do still have over halfway to go, and anything can happen. But so far, he has looked the man to beat. As he did at the start of last season, of course, winning the opening round at Spa, but unfortunately couldn't really do much else all season apart from that. And maybe this season will be a similar story, but we will find out. But so far, he's had a very, very strong opening, and the man in 2nd place, Mathiasen, having a very, very strong opening round. Don't think we've seen much of him on these SR10s so far at all over these past few seasons. But he's going strong at the moment. Started 3rd, up into 2nd now. Don't think he'll be complaining about gaining a position. And just behind him, Larsen as well, his fellow Norwegian in 3rd place. Lost his position to Mathiasen in 2nd place. And it's just coasting along. And Sorensen behind the other Norwegian, also having a fairly decent start. Started 6th and is now up to 4th. I'd say he should be pretty happy with that. And then Woodward having a fairly clean race so far in 5th. That's your top 5. And Brown as well gaining a place up to 6th. And of course, Blanco making that crucial mistake from 4th to 7th. And is now trying to fight his way back through the field and is on the tail of Andrew Brown. And behind him, Hulkinen having, I think, the best race of anyone so far, up 3 places from 11th, now in 8th. impressive from him so far. I believe that was a little bit of a lockup from Blanco in front, as he's really pushing to try and get past Andrew Brown. And we will see what he can do within these next few laps, as it's not the easiest to overtake around here. If you have driven this track, it's notorious for being not the most overtake friendly track of all. You have a few opportunities. The biggest one, of course, is down into turn 1. The biggest braking zone on the track, all the way down here, coming down the hill, braking around the 350 marker on the right, and sweeping through this very iconic turn 1. But Blanco at the moment not quite able to keep on the back of Andrew as much as he'd like. He is only 4/10 behind, but that's not quite enough to go for an overtake, as round here slipstream isn't really gonna work as well as it. Oh, he's gone wide again. Oh, he just manages to keep it out of the gravel, but it just got way too deep on the brakes, and is now under pressure from Hulkinen behind. And Blanco, like he did a few times last season, is just making those mistakes again and again. And it seems like when he makes one, he makes another one, and then another one, and then another one. He just needs to keep his head cool and calm down, and he will be able to get back on the pace, get back into those positions that he's so... Yeah, that realistically he should be. And we've seen what Blanco can do. Last season he got a few wins and really did show his potential. But again, at rounds like Bathurst, where he did make those crucial mistakes, it did cost him a win. And I believe that he does have great potential, but just needs to keep his head cool and focus on ironing out these mistakes, and he will be a fantastic driver, I am sure of it. But so far, not been the best race for him, as not many battles going on right now, as I have said. It is really difficult to follow around here. Again, not so much because of the dirty air, just of the nature of the track, the fast sweeping corners. Following another car, especially in these SR10s, it's not easy. And even in the likes of Formula 3s or Formula Vs, it can be a real challenge. Following another car through here. At some of these fast corners, just if a car is in front of you and they make a mistake, you might just get a bit ahead of yourself and make a similar mistake to them. But yeah, the field really is spread out. The closest battle we have at the moment is for 13th place, which is around 0.3 of a second. And then the battle that you're looking at right now between Brown and Blanco. But yeah, not too many battles going on. But let's have a sneak peek at this battle for 13th place. It's only around 0.3 of a second. Josh Brain getting a very nice exit around the final corner. He's going to have a decent amount of slipstream as we come down the main straight now. Is he going to go for a move into turn 1? Not quite. I think he probably should have gone for a move. Is he going to try and go for a switchback though? No, he's just going to have to sit behind Gonzalez for now. And I think he could have possibly gone for a move into turn 1 if he was just a little bit more braver on the brakes. But chose to be sensible, chose to just sit back and just relax. Doesn't need to go crazy. We still have about 8 laps to go in this race. We're on lap 10. Your race leader, Eric Baba, now coming around the final few corners. The gap between first and last, who are still running, is around 30 seconds right now. And that is a huge gap for only 10 laps. And Baba really showing his pace. He's setting blistering lap times right now and is pulling away from the rest of the field at a rapid rate of knots. And you have to say that if he can keep up this form throughout the whole season, well, he's going to be the one to beat. And we'll wait and see if anyone else can match his pace. But he is currently half a second quicker than anyone else on the racetrack, as his closest rival, second place, Mathiasen, only did an 18.0 and Baba did a 17.5. Went quicker than his pole lap, in fact, which is just astounding, especially in these cars where realistically throughout the race they do get quicker and quicker, of course, with the lower fuel, but these tyres really do go through absolute hell and are so sensitive to lockups, to mistakes, and they will shoot you off in the wrong direction if you're not careful, especially lockups. We have heard a few times last season that some of these drivers, if you do make a lockup, it can affect you for lap after lap. And well, then you're done and dusted, really, as it will put you about half a second to a second off the pace, which is not what you want at all if you're trying to fight with another car, and it possibly could end up in a big accident. But Baba so far going very, very strong, and not really had a fault. He's not really put a foot wrong so far, but Mathiasen getting a little bit closer to his lap times. That last lap they were only separated by about 1/10 of a second, less than that actually, half a tenth. So Mathiasen does have the potential to keep up with Baba, but just needs to be a little bit more consistent. And who knows, throughout the rest of the season we might get some close battles between these two, or anyone else that wants to take the fight to Baba. As we obviously have a few returning faces from last season, some new ones as well. Baba, Woodward, Blanco, some of your examples. Sorensen as well, returning faces from last season, but we do have a few new ones, and it's always good to have some fresh drivers to lighten up the roster and see what amazing talent we can watch go around these cars at millions of miles an hour. As Blanco now really pushing, and has been pushing on these last few laps like absolute hell, setting similar lap times to the leaders, and well, that gap has come down and he's on the back of Brown now. And I believe if he gets a good exit here, which he has now the opportunity to tuck in that slipstream and get Brown into turn one if he's brave enough. But Brown, if he's smart, will cover the inside line. He's not going to, but Blanco just, but Brown goes wide. Just under braking, Brown goes a little bit wide, and that basically opened the door for Blanco to say, thank you very much, I'll have that position. And he took advantage of that very, very well, and now slips himself into 6th place. But Brown is still on the back of him, so he's not quite done the move 100%, just got to pull away through this middle sector now to fully complete the move. And now has his sights set on Woodward in front. He's got about 5 laps to catch Woodward and possibly make a move. He was under pressure at the start of this race from Woodward, and we'll see what he can do now. With only 5 laps to go, around 6-7 minutes then. But yeah, Brown doing fairly decently to keep up with Blanco, who has been setting really good lap times. But I think Blanco just is starting to pull away, and I think there may have been a mistake by Lindquist. He's still going strong, but he did lose quite a lot of time through the corkscrew. May have made a mistake of some sort. Yeah, I believe he just locked up ever so slightly into the corkscrew, and yeah, he cut the corner completely, and unfortunately has cost him about a second. Yeah, on that last lap. Oh yeah, wow. That cost him about 1.5 seconds. That was a huge chunk of time that they lost there, just from making a tiny mistake, and nearly loses it coming out of turn 1. And like I said, if you lock up in these cars, it really is a heart-in-mouth moment, as I like to call it. It is terrifying. And these cars will just, they won't turn if you lock up. Just, nope. They will go into a wall. And a Lindquist, especially into the corkscrew as well, is very lucky to get away with that one. But a Brain as well, finally getting past Gonzalez. Took him a few laps to get it done, but nevertheless was patient with it and made that move. And I think Gonzalez has been lacking a little bit of pace on these last few laps as they go into the corkscrew now. A little bit of a lock-up from Gonzalez. And yeah, Josh now starting to pull away from him as well. But Blanco has really caught up to the back of Woodward in front. And on that last lap, wow, the difference in laps was about 0.6 of a second. Blanco really on it right now. and really wants to get back into 5th place, as that's sort of his ideal goal for now. He's way too far back to be fighting for 4th. And I believe it's another mistake from Lindquist. Yes, he spun off into turn 1 and is now doing donuts in the gravel trap into turn 1. No, not sure that's going to aid his chances of getting a top 10, which he was in before that mistake, but unfortunately, I'm guessing just went way too deep on the brakes and ended up in the gravel trap, so shame for him. But at least he's not in the wall like 2 of our other drivers who are currently in the pit lane and out of this race, Benatwiz and Sotarhart. They both made early on mistakes. Sotarhart on lap 1 and Bonowitz on, I believe that was lap 6 that he made that mistake on. As we come on to lap 16 now, Blanco really piling on the pressure on Woodward. Only 2 laps to go. Can Blanco get past Woodward? He was in front of him, obviously, earlier on in the race until that mistake. And you can tell Blanco is really giving it the beans right now. Using that inside curve into turn 2. Coming through turn 3 now. Using every single inch of every single curb. Pushing like hell. And it's just, I think his brain is sort of saying, okay, where can I go quicker than him? Where can I make a move? He's not got long to do it. And I think all Woodward needs to do now is to just keep cool, keep calm. Don't feel under pressure from Blanco. As Blanco is not a dirty driver. He won't just lunge up on you. And Blanco is a sensible, safe driver. So Woodward can have... Well, he can be calm for now that he doesn't have anyone scary behind him, and just needs to keep it calm, keep it focused, and it will emerge victorious in this battle as Baba now starts his final lap of the race. It's white flag for Erin Baba in the lead, and it's going to be white flag for these guys as well when they cross the line, but Blanco is closest than he's ever been so far this race. Only about 0.2 of a second now as they come down into turn 1. I think Blanco's just a little bit too far back. Woodward going very defensive into turn 1. Just gets a little bit wide and very, very skittish. And that's going to allow Blanco to pull alongside. But I think Woodward's very, very lucky that he's managed to stay ahead. But Blanco gets a very good exit out of turn 3. And he's on the inside now. Woodward being very defensive. And Blanco slips himself up into 5th place. And now Brown wants a piece of the pie. They're going 3 wide. And that's a huge accident for Woodward and Brown. That was not the smartest idea from Brown to go 3 wide. And that is a broken SR10. Let's go with a replay. And look at Brown looking... It was just a bit of an optimistic mood. There was a little bit of netcode. Loses the car and slams straight in to Woodward. And that is... Oh, wow. I was not expecting that at all. Wow. But Baba, while we were looking at that replay, does win the race. He comes across the line. Well, actually, comes across turn 3 to win in Laguna Seca, the opening round of the season. A very, very faultless drive from him. Can't really put a foot wrong. And then you've got Mathiasen in 2nd, Larson in 3rd, Sorensen in 4th, and Blanco just, and when I say just, I mean just getting 5th. He was so close to being involved in that incident with Brown and Woodward, but just managed to escape. And Woodward, albeit with a damaged car, finishes in 6th. Yeah, and Holkonen just behind him, and Satterhaug in 8th, Steinwart in 9th, and Josh Brain in 10th place, Ward in 11th, Gonzalez in 12th, Lindquist in 13th, Elson in 14th, and Woodward, of course, not going to be very happy with that finish. Coming across the line to finish 15th. He was in 5th at one point, and just, well, through no fault of his own, unfortunately was a victim of a 3 wide incident is all you can really say to that one. And our two non-finishers, Bonowitz and So to Heart, in 17th and 16th. And wow, a pretty good opening round, I'd say. You got Baba, who's looking so far to be the man to beat this season, and we'll see what his we'll see what the three other Norwegians can do, as they looked pretty decent on the pace towards the end of that race. And Blanco possibly could have been fighting with them had he not made that mistake, but nevertheless, very impressive to finish back into 5th, although with a very aggressive move on Woodward. But I do have to say, it was also very aggressive defending from Woodward, who eventually ended up in the wall because Andrew Brown tried to make it 3 wide, but unfortunately a little bit of netcode caused a incident between those guys, and Woodward finishes in 6th. And Hulkinen as well, our biggest mover, I believe. Actually, that's Josh Brain who was our biggest mover, but Hulkinen nevertheless up 4 places to finish in 7th place, and Satterhaug as well up 1 place. Steinwart down 1 place, not too bad of a result for him. And Josh Brain, then our biggest mover, up 5 places from 15th. A really impressive end of the race for him. I think at the start a little bit weak, but towards the end he had some really good pace and managed to beat his rivals around him, finishing inside the top 10. Ward as well making a few mistakes. He possibly could have finished in the top 10. Gonzalez really didn't have the pace today to match the guys ahead of him, and Lindquist as well making a lot of mistakes. Elson as well making a few mistakes, and yeah, Woodward not really having the best end to a race, but I'm sure he will be able to bounce back next week. As well, that was a very entertaining first round. As always in these radicals, it's an absolute beauty to drive these cars around these tracks, and we head to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve next week for the Canadian Radical race. And I think that will be a very interesting race. I think it will be similar to a race like this. You've got some fast corners, a lot of chicanes, and one very heavy braking zone. And I think down into that hairpin and down into the chicane, the final corner, I think we're going to see some sends, some dive bombs, and possibly even some takeoffs, as those curbs really do like to, well, send you into the stratosphere. And especially in these cars where they're basically a ramp, we may see some carnage, is the only way I can describe it. But nevertheless, it's been an absolute pleasure commentating on this race for you. I've been Aaron Smith, joined here by Simuli Kumo in the production booth, and we will see you next week, same time for round 2. And I hope all of you have an absolutely fantastic end to your day. Have a good one.